What's up, everybody? It's Joe La Puma. You were watching the Complex Sneakers podcast. As always, I'm with my guys. First off, to my right, Mr. Matt Welty.
2 in 2 days.
Double cupped up.
Hold up.
Double in so many
Double
ways.
cupped up. Yep. Doing a double header.
We had a busy week, baby.
To my left, he came dressed to impress, Mr. Brendan Dunne.
Listen, I was so confused just now.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
When you said this is Joe La Puma.
I know.
Because I looked to my right and I said, is that Joe La Puma? There's something
different.
off.
I know.
There's something that doesn't
Wearing
quite
white shoes?
sit right. Have you ever in your life seen Joe La Puma in a crispy pair of white sneakers like
These
this?
are like all white. Feels a little weird, but it's a special occasion.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go
just so
more
you know,
in depth on the footwear later, but
yeah.
White Stan Smiths because we got Stan Smith.
It's talking about the footwear I'm wearing, but also zooming in on the hat so the audience knows exactly what they're watching because we got a great guest. Okay,
Complex Sneakers
guest.
podcast.
Yeah, we got a great guest today.
Only
get to
on the
that later.
Complex Sneakers podcast.
Dressed to impress. He got the Scuba Steve t-shirt on.
Yeah. Shout out Scuba Steve.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
So as Welty mentioned, we're doing a double. We're recording a lot of stuff
Double
this week,
header?
but you're listening to this the weekend of ComplexCon. So maybe
Yes.
you're on the plane right now on your way. I'm probably sitting in 27C. Just missed the upgrade, so I'm in
one
the back
foot
of
out, literally one Stan Smith foot out.
I'm on the back of the plane on my way to Long Beach.
Aisle seat is always the move, though.
You like an aisle over a window?
1,000%.
Why? Because the bathroom.
Just the whole situation of not having to tap on someone to get up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fair to say.
But then other people are tapping on you.
The window though, so much easier to fall asleep.
True.
Yeah, but I would rather just be able to not have to walk over people. Like, to get up, it's not the biggest inconvenience to me.
Yeah.
But you also get you get to put your left foot out. You get the little extra.
But the cart comes by sometimes, hits you in the elbow. You asking for a V8 on the plane? I
Getting
know.
your elbows out like Fernando Alonso. little sprinkle some F1 in there. Sorry.
What's your guys' choice? So when the beverage cart comes around,
I'm good. I have my water bottle here. Thank you.
Oh,
you
wow.
don't get a beverage on the plane?
Nah, not anymore.
No, but when you did, like,
I used to do a ginger ale. I do like a V8.
Okay, I do a Diet Coke.
do the spicy tomato juice.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, I like that.
A little bit of
Okay.
spice. You like a little bit of spice.
Yeah, you do
sometimes.
like a little bit of
They
spice.
get- if, they can,
Some nice.
if you can get a lemon or a lime squeeze
Spice.
with it.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you. So this is this weekend of ComplexCon. I hope everybody listening has their tickets. If not, maybe there are still some tickets available. We will be everywhere during the weekend.
Yep. We'll be all over. Got a busy schedule. We got some
Two
cool
live
things.
episodes at the eBay booth on the
Yes.
floor at ComplexCon. Joe, obviously you're doing the Sneaker of the Year panel.
Yes, Sneaker of the Year panel's been announced. Me, DJ Clark Kent, Jadakiss, Jim Jones. Yep, one more. Yep, Jim Jones.
Do a Jim
And
Jones
as we're taping this, as we're taping this, we haven't revealed the other special guest,
But let's just confirm up top, it's not Brendan Dunne or
no,
Matt
it's not
Welty.
you guys. Not you guys. But
Once again, we'll be sitting in aisle 27.
No, we'll be
Got a question.
We'll be together most of the
Is it Michael Jordan?
weekend. It's not Michael Jordan. No,
Is it Marcus Jordan?
not Marcus Jordan
Yo,
either.
imagine if you got Marcus Jordan
What?
on the
That would be-
Sneaker of the Year panel.
That'd be dope.
The seats would be, not that they're already not gonna be filled, but they would be to the fucking end of
That'd be dope.
end of the
Really?
the ground floor.
I would be there. Hopefully I'll be there.
What if Nike does a shock drop during the Sneaker of the Year panel, Joe?
Will you be as upset as we were when Nike did a shock drop?
How
during
would
you
the
feel
live
about that,
full-size
Joe?
run episode of ComplexCon in Chicago?
How would I feel about that?
What year was that? 2018?
Yeah.
That was Allen Iverson one, yeah. Chicago.
That must have been weird for you guys. Seriously.
I actually didn't really clock it that much.
That's good. That must have been weird.
There was
though.
just like a scamper in the back of the room. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, why is like a third of this room gone?
Couldn't compare to the attention we were commanding there.
That's true. That's true.
ComplexCon, always a treat.
What's your favorite ComplexCon memory?
Hold on.
Don't be sassy.
No.
What?
I'm just saying if you somehow, you know, 5 years down the road, because these things tend to happen out of the blue, right?
I
You
love
just
this.
happen to be at some sort of sneaker sneaker hobnob event, whatever, or you're just
am I eating mini glizzies at a brand party?
something,
or he's in a blazer,
or you go to dinner with a group of friends and they're like, hey, my friend works in the sneaker industry too, and you meet this person, right?
Oh, I love this. Yeah,
and you happen to just be in like a semi-intimate setting.
Yeah, we're in a little circle.
Yeah,
I'm holding a ginger ale
with the engineer or the product person who literally engineered or set up that drop.
We're fighting.
Oh, well,
at ComplexCon.
What are you handing out to Stone Cold Stunner? Would you
ask him about it, or would you ask him why he did that?
We wouldn't be exchanging words. We'd be exchanging fisticuffs.
Wow, look at
no.
Look at this guy.
No. I would never.
But when he told you, you'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy, man.
The whole thing is the delivery. If he was like, yeah, remember the shock drop when people were running out? That was me. That's the delivery.
No, that's a cool moment. I'm not mad.
They knew where the audience was, though. That's they fished. A little
tip of the cap.
They fished where the fish were.
In the words of Brendan Dunne, you know who the fuck I am.
Wow. Okay. He did straight to his camera too.
Oh, beautiful.
Some news this morning.
Ooh, plenty of news this morning.
They didn't give you the heads up. Overseas press. How dare they? But some Kanye news. Basically, they had the earnings call. Adidas had their earnings call.
Yep, quarter 3 2022 earnings call.
Basically talked about how they're going to roll out the Yeezys. We had some information over the last few weeks, but now they kind of confirmed.
Yeah. So Adidas CFO said basically they plan to make use of the inventory for 2023. They haven't formulated a detailed plan as to how they're going to do that. I mean,
what, selling them?
Yeah.
The crazier thing to me would be destroying hundreds of thousands of pairs of these things.
Well, I mean, the right thing would probably to do would be if you say as a brand, we don't stand behind this man or in his shoes and his message, to then say, screw you, we're going to profit off the remaining value of it.
I mean, I think it's a
giving
difficult
your
place.
audience a chance to align with something that you don't agree with.
Yeah. But to me, I feel like they tried to do it in the delicate way of still aligning with the product, but not aligning with the person. And if they help design it as they did, which we've detailed on here, it's like, I think that unfortunately you have to balance the concerns of the business with the values of the business.
It's like you're a food manufacturer and you all of a sudden realize that there's a cancer-causing agent in your food.
Whoa.
And you've told the world that there's a cancer-causing agent in your food. But you said, you know what? Food still tastes scrumptious, a.k.a. the Yeezys might still look good on your feet. You know what? We still have 10,000 of these sandwiches left. We're still going to get rid of them just so you guys can get your fix.
But what's the alternative? Just destroy them?
I mean, give them to people who need shoes because there are millions of those people across the world.
Yeah.
Why are you going to profiteer off of something that you've already denounced?
It's a good question.
Good take.
Adidas, answer it.
Good question. Do we think that they're going to sell? We were talking about this before you came. You know, they're stripping the Yeezy branding, which for some models, it's really obscure, right?
Right. They can't use, they don't have the right to the trademark Yeezy. So they're saying we own all the rights to the actual designs and we plan to use them as early as 2023. What that will look like, we don't know. I could see them recalling all the shoes and just ripping the insoles out and sending them back to people and saying, okay, sell them now. You know, when this first happened, there wasn't a very set plan in terms of what they were going to do. And all the retailers I spoke to had different messages. Some of them, their sales reps from Adidas hadn't even reached out to them yet. At this point, I think they're starting to move and say, okay, this is how you're going to send the product back. This is what we need to do. But Adidas even said, like, we haven't totally figured out what the plan is.
Do you think that they're going to sell without the Yeezy branding?
Like, will people still buy them?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely,
1,000%. No, we've had this conversation before. I think there's so many people who buy Yeezys who are so far removed from Kanye West being someone that, number one, they know exists.
Yeah.
Or number two, that they look up to, or number three, they're buying it because of his name's attached to it, where it's almost like, it's not the same, but like Michael Jordan, you know, it's like how many people are buying Jordans because of Michael Jordan,
right?
You know,
because of what he believes in or what he's done or anything like that.
Yeah. How many people who are like, oh, those slipper shoes that got the squishy soles. Those were comfy to me. Those were my favorite.
It's going to be interesting on the earnings call when they're like, and what are they even going to call it? Just like what are they going to change the names?
They could just
they have to change the name. They can't call them Yeezys.
No, but they could be like Adidas 350.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Although
the CFO said it's too early to say when and how we could come up with these plans. This is in response to somebody saying, "Are you just going to call them Adidas products?"
Okay.
He said it's too early, but it's definitely current product, but also future product, not under the Yeezy label. So. Yeah. Whenever they do start selling these things, they're not going to be calling them Yeezys. They can't do that. And also somebody asked, because at the end of these earnings calls, there's always Q&A sessions where analysts and investors have the chance to, prod them on certain things. And somebody said, are you anticipating any legal action around these things? And they said, basically, no, we believe we have a very solid contract in place that we terminated, and we're not anticipating extra costs from having to litigate over this thing. So they are saying publicly that they really believe in their right to do these things.
The only thing that, and I don't think Adidas should sell these shoes, but if they were going to sell the shoes, I would just hope that they would take the money and reinvest it in the company to fix the fact that none of their recent shoes fit.
I knew it.
You could look in his eyes.
So, the weird thing?
I knew it was coming.
The most striking thing about the Adidas Q3 2022 earnings call is they did at no point address Matt Welty's very public complaints.
Yeah, well, maybe they should.
Very high-profile feedback that their shoes don't fit right now. Hopefully it's coming.
You know what's crazy, though, is that these shoes, we'll talk about them later, but these shoes were made...
The ones you're wearing?
Made before I said that Adidas had sizing issues. And you know
fit
what?
Fine?
And they're a size 11, and they fit a whole size bigger than the shoes that don't fit that they recently make.
I got these today, by the way.
But those fit right?
Yes. They fit like a size 11. Pair of size 11 shoes should fit your feet.
Adidas' new CEO. Did you hear that?
Crazy thing about Adidas' new CEO.
Still going.
Puma guy. As we know, Puma hardly mentioned in the same breath as Adidas, or should be.
Sure.
Can you...
So it's
I like this energy, just maybe a little bit.
No, this is good energy.
Before Stan comes out.
Hey, I love.
I know.
I'm
making
Smith.
A joke. I'm making a little.
I've been on record like the biggest Adidas fan before all of this nonsense.
Before and after.
You got your own shoe on.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Yeah. So
Matt Smith.
This is like. So say you're a fan or an alumni of university, right?
Go Ducks.
Yes. Your football coach either moves on or gets fired, right? And you have you're a big school like Oregon, right? So you're looking
with the allegories today.
You're looking for a new coach. There's
I got
there's an old coach out there who used to be amazing, but maybe he stepped aside for 2 years. Maybe he had one bad year at a school and got fired, but he's a great football coach, right? Do you want to bring that guy in? Or do you risk, there was a guy who used to be the coach of, Central Michigan who had 3 good seasons, and you're hoping that because he had 2 good seasons at a really not so good school that he can jump into the big time school and bring the big time school back to its glory.
Okay, we took a while to get there.
I'm not going to lie, you lost me a tiny bit, but I understand the point.
Yes, it's a risk.
But Puma has done well recently.
I mean, they still make a lot of bad shoes, but...
This is true.
Okay. The energy is up.
I feel you. This is the energy we need.
This is the energy.
Today and
What's
all
in
the
that
days.
cup? Coffee?
Cold brew.
Oh, okay. All right.
The key. By the way, Adidas did also hint at what's to come with Jerry Lorenzo.
Oh, big.
Fear of God on top of the whole basketball division. So I think we'll hear more from that soon.
What'd they say?
In the next couple months. Just that this is the pinnacle of their basketball expression, and they're working on a big event to roll out to media and, let the world know.
Question for you guys. He starts making the basketball gear. We get to enter some summer 3-on-3 tournaments?
Sure.
Us two?
Us
three.
Why did you say us two?
I don't
looked at me. You don't want Matt Welty on the basketball team?
No, I actually was
going to do better on the basketball team than I'm going to do on the basketball team. I'll be totally transparent about that.
Okay, power forward.
Power
forward?
I could just be like, you know what? I feel like at this point, best off just to play some defense and try and get some steals. But I also know that's your game. So who's actually going to shoot the ball? That's
not
the problem.
Brendan Dunne.
Okay.
Not Brendan Dunne.
All right. Power forward, maybe like an Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley type, you know?
Welty?
Just
I got long arms. I could hit a little.
You come in the lane. You come in the lane. He lets you know.
Put your elbows out like Fernando Alonso, right?
I'll do a shooting guard, maybe small forward. You, point guard, obviously.
Right.
I feel like you could come up with plays and like keep them organized and.
Okay. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
I think,
You know what they need Jerry to do?
What?
So we've been seeing this a lot.
Fix the sizing.
No, we've seen this a lot lately, and we're seeing more of it. Yeah. So obviously, New Balance 550, huge hit.
Yeah.
There's been a few shoes recently from other brands that are trying to get into that lane.
You posted the other day, you sent it to us, a Saucony, and you said this is Saucony's version of the 550.
Yeah, and I think it's a great shoe, and I'm excited by it. Our friend Ronnie doing the A6 EXT, but it's also very much in that.
You think that's an A6 550?
It's similar. It's the same era, low top basketball shoe. Just is what it is, right? So a lot of brands are seeing that that's a trend. We need to get into that, right? Yeah. Adidas really hasn't put their foot into that. They had the Forum. I don't think the Forum really matches the 550 because it has the strap and it doesn't really like connect the same way. They have a lot of shoes, like a Conductor or something like that, like a low top that would fit into that equation.
You think Adidas
I just feel like all white low Adidas, you immediately go to Superstars or Stan Smith.
Yeah, but you need like that beefy.
I know.
You need that beefiness to the 550. You get Jerry to find one of those silhouettes and give it
just in the archive,
and you give it the fear of God treatment. That shoe.
That's $500 million right
there.
there.
That bangs.
You're giving that away?
Shoe
Picking
bangs.
up the Yeezy
giving that away for free
right there.
We also have the chance where we saw our friend Jerry Lorenzo wearing the Adidas Adilet slides, right?
I mean, those
things.
He collabs on those.
You get a fear of God Adilet.
Forget it.
Let me ask this:
Forget it.
Are you campaigning to be the new president?
Yeah,
of
look
Fear
at him.
God Athletics?
Look at you.
Hey man, I got some ideas.
Wow.
I put these shoes.
We were joking last.
Look at
last
he's got
podcast.
his superpowers.
I put these shoes on.
Got his superpowers.
I feel
His superpowers.
Yeah.
Listen, we were joking last week about you maybe putting your name in for the new CEO title at Adidas, and that's come and gone because they picked a guy. But it sounds like you're very much trying to.
Seems like he's considering it.
The Fear of God role.
I feel like they could have worked with me a bunch over the years, and I would have given them some ideas. But hey, they want to do other things.
Okay.
I love the energy.
Yeah.
Hey, there's another thing we have to get into. We always get into it here on the Complex Sneakers podcast. It's giving away a free pair of shoes.
That's every week.
Yeah. eBay is here with us, and as per usual, we're giving you a very special pair of sneakers. Here's how you can win a pair of sneakers from us. If you go to ebay.complex.com, you can enter to win a pair by submitting a question for us to respond to here on the air. If we like your question, if we pick it, and if you're a U.S. resident, this is only open to U.S. residents, we will send you a pretty slick pair of kicks, right?
Yep.
Sorry, I would never say that in real life. That's the type of thing Matt Welty would make fun of other
Slick?
people for saying. Slick kicks, sick kicks, and things like that. Anyways, what are we giving away today?
We are giving away, good one. You see the box, you could tell.
Actually, now I can tell.
The record breaking.
Okay. One of the sneakers of the year?
Yes. It's
Travis
in the top
Scott,
10.
Air Jordan 1 Low, Reverse Mocha?
Yes.
With the eBay Authenticity Guarantee tag on there?
See it right there. and this was, 3.8 milli on the sneakers app, the entries?
Yeah. Come on.
The entries. And it fits into today's question, which comes from, pardon the, if I'm not pronouncing
Isn't
this
an
right.
Italian name?
Yeah, Mike Lucchesi.
It's not Lucchesi?
If you get it wrong, Joe.
Is it Lucchesi?
I don't think it's
Lucchesi.
Is that one of the five
I don't
families?
think it's Lucchesi.
I'm deferring
Mike
to you,
Lucchesi,
dude.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Let
It's
us
one of
know.
the 9 fishes.
Indianapolis.
They got a
7
bunch of
fish.
fishes.
7 fishes. Coming up soon, Christmas Eve. 7 fish. Mike
3
Lucchesi.
stripes.
Mike
7
Lucchesi,
fishes,
Indianapolis asks,
3.8 million entries.
in your opinion, what is the most fair way to release a sneaker? First come, first serve, raffle, lottery, contests, etc. What is the most creative release you remember?
So we're giving out more free ideas here.
Mike gave us a couple questions.
I'm going to focus on the first part, the most fair way to release a pair of sneakers. I still like the old-fashioned come outside, line up at the store. Everybody is there.
Yes.
We have the shoes here. If you were more dedicated than the other people who came to the lineup and you spent more time and invested more in getting the shoes, you're going to get the shoes.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's a level
They
playing
stopped
field.
doing that because of violence, though, or
I think it got
too
much for a lot of stores to handle.
yeah,
I feel like that's the biggest knock on that. Where it's like in the ideal world, that's the best release
Procedure,
method.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that not everyone deserves a chance to get a shoe, but I do feel like in life, you get rewarded for going the extra mile. Hopefully, right? So if you put in the work of getting there earlier,
An hour before
if
the
you
next person.
or you know what? We've talked about it so many times on the show. If you put in the time to build relationships with people that not backdoor, but to like hold you down or something like that at the store, you know, it's like your effort put in gets you something out of it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like ideally that's the best thing to do.
Think they would ever go back to that though?
I mean, I think plenty of stores still do a first come first serve. I just don't think it's as widespread as it used to be.
Yeah, but I always felt like that was the fairest. I think sneaker culture changed a lot when sneakers, the app became the thing where it's like, I'm not saying that not everyone deserves a chance to get shoes, so don't take it that way. But when there was like that like specialness of having connections and I'm not talking about connections because you're the host of a show and you get free shoes because of it. Before I did this and all of that, I used to go to sneaker stores just like you. I used to work at sneaker stores. I used to know people at the sneaker stores. I went there and spent my money and made connections with people so I could get the shoes through it. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about.
Put in the time, you're saying.
Putting in the time to get the shoes. And I hope that that's the way that sneakers should be. And then when we got to a point where sneakers app, they're trying to democratize the sneaker release where it's everyone gets more angry about
because they feel like they have the right to buy the shoes no matter what.
Where everyone just is like, you know what, I didn't win. Screw this. Where hey, you could have just showed up 4 hours earlier than someone and sat in line and got them.
And then it's like that would have been the key. But that's the thing when it comes to the sneakers app, you don't know. It's like there's not as clear a way to distinguish yourself or to be like, look, I'm gonna quote unquote work harder or put in more effort than the next person. It's just like we're all the same playing field, which I guess makes sense on some level of pressing the thing on the app. Is like you can't do it in a concrete way of gaining an advantage unless it's like using bots,
or you show up to the sneaker store and you're like, dang, there's already 38 people in line.
Yeah.
What size are you going for? What size are you going for? What size are you going for? Man, there's already 13 people in line going for size 11. I don't have a chance. Let me make a call real quick. Yo, does the Foot Locker across town have them? Okay, let me go over there and try and figure it out. Versus you're on New Balance or Nike's website and you just get or Off-White's website and you get a message that there are 3,000 people ahead of you in line. And
what am I doing here?
You can't even see it. You're just like you tried to enter it and then all of a sudden you get a message that you are number 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah. Joe, what do you think?
I see what you guys are saying. I also think, though, it's situational. Cities, stores, like how crowded things get. I think there's something to say about that, like just camping for hours. I mean, my thing is like, it has to kind of do with like Supreme couldn't even release shoes anymore.
Yeah,
so
true.
like, but that's what they were they doing what you guys were saying?
That stinks, but at the same time, at least when you had shoes releasing at the stores, I know people had maybe once in a while there was like there were resellers or someone would like, Ben Felderstein wrote a story about his mom camping out for a pair of sneakers for him. You'd get that on occasion. But you'd be getting the people going to the stores who were trying to get that shoe because they wanted to buy that sneaker. And it would limit the number of people who were actually throwing their name into the hat and making it harder to get the shoes.
Right.
When it's on the sneakers app, everyone can just click and
3 seconds, no investment.
No one had to put any investment in, and they may not even want the shoe.
Yeah, a lot of times I try and buy a shoe on sneakers that I don't even care about just because it doesn't take me anything to do it.
Now you're putting yourself in the odds where it's like entering the lottery.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to hit it or not. You're not actually going against the 50 people in town who are actually going to go to the store and try to buy the shoe. It's like your odds were way better when it just got released at the physical location. If you wanted to be dedicated to it, you actually had to go and do it.
You versus 100 people instead of you versus 1 million people.
I don't
or
think
3.8 million or whatever it is.
I don't think it's going to happen though, right?
One can only dream, right?
Anytime. And you have a lot of dreams today.
Yeah.
Adidas CEO. Better release.
President of Paragon Athletics.
And we have a dream guest. So.
I was going to say a dream came true.
That's right. A very special guest.
Our guest on today's podcast is a tennis legend whose resume includes being a U.S. Open and Wimbledon champion in 1971 and 1972, respectively, and a member of the Tennis Hall of Fame. Besides his accolades in tennis, in the sneaker world, he's the face and the namesake of one of the most iconic sneakers of all time, a sneaker that bears his likeness on the tongue and transcended the tennis court to become a staple in sneaker and pop culture. Today's a banner show here on the Complex Sneakers podcast as we welcome the legendary Stan Smith. Stan, thank you so much for joining. We've had a lot of episodes throughout the years, but this is very special. So we are really excited to have you.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yes.
What an absolute treat.
What a spot. You guys are doing a great job here. It's unbelievable.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Stan.
it.
I think the first thing we want to talk about, and it should be obvious what sneakers everybody's wearing, but we like to go around and discuss the sneakers that we're all wearing. So if you could please introduce for us here your shoe, and I do mean your shoe.
Yeah,
Yes.
This is Adidas made 26 pairs of these green shoes with the name Pops on it, which is my name for the grandchildren.
Okay.
And so we all got a pair, and it's got my birth date on the inside of the shoe right here, and Pops on the outside.
Friends and family exclusive.
Yeah, very exclusive. 26 pairs.
How many special makeups are you getting like that? 26 pairs, the grandchildren and the family, like, are a lot of special makeups coming? Do you have like any ideas and like, hey, we need this? Or what is like the cadence of boxes of special makeups?
Yeah, well, they haven't done a lot of special makeups for me necessarily, but they've done a couple,
Okay.
and I've actually designed a few. A couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, you could go on the computer and pick your color, pick your material, pick the back, the front, the inside, and they've done some. One of my favorites, really, I'm really proud of, is the Laver Stan Smith combination, where they have a picture of me in a live shot, hitting the backhand, I think, in his shoe.
Yeah.
And the right shoe, I think it is, and the left shoe has him, that action shot with his name on that. So it's pretty special because he's in my top 6, I think, of all the great players of all time, Rod Laver.
Nice.
Awesome.
So obviously I'm doing Stan Smith's as well. This is not quite an official special makeup, but if you look on the side there, you see it has my name, Brendan Dunne, on there. And this isn't really like a custom. I think they gave this to me in an Adidas event or something like that. So
did they?
Almost a special makeup.
Well, that's close. The original kind of marketing plan when they relaunched it in 2014 is they sent to 100 influencers and they put their picture on it. Is that you?
No.
And,
he was one-on-one.
He's a special.
He was one-on-one.
He's a one-on-one.
Even specialer.
He might have been one, but anyway, they asked them. They put their picture on the tongue instead of my picture, and just asked them to put it on their social media. Yeah. And it really helped it take off.
And I think there was even a program at the time too where the Adidas Twitter account, you could just send them a picture of yourself, and they'd recreate the logo and give it to you as like an avatar that you could put on your social media account.
Yeah, and you could get a card with your own square, more or less, with your picture on it. So it's they've done a lot of pretty ingenious marketing things over the years.
Definitely.
No special makeup for me. I'm doing the
But
OG.
it's special that you're wearing white.
Yeah,
Special. You don't wear white, huh?
Never.
Why
Never
is
wear
that?
white. I don't know. It's always been like a thing where I just feel like my feet are too big, and it's like, I don't know, just not as.
I think it looks good on you, Joe.
Thank you.
What do you think, Stan?
Well, I think it's pretty sharp, but do you like to have them kind of scuffed up? A lot
So
of people like them scuffed up.
So, to be honest, funny you say that because it's a new pair, and for like the past 2 hours, I was like taking trips to get coffee, and I was like, I don't mind if I get scuffed.
Were you intentionally hitting your foot against like the recycling bin or something?
Because I do like shoes that get dirty, and I know that these scuffed wear really well. So that's actually really on point.
Well, Balenciaga's doing it. We're doing a little collab with them, and they're putting shoes out. I think it's about $795, but they're kind of deconstructed.
Yeah,
and they look like they've been run over by a truck.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you like the Balenciaga ones?
Well, I haven't seen them yet. I may see them today
in person
later on, but I haven't seen them yet. I've seen some photographs of them, and it's strange.
They don't have you driving the truck. That
it's really nice leather and everything, but it looks like it has been run over a few times. And they have them in black.
Okay,
the black ones, and
there we go.
Yeah,
I have the Pharrell red ones, the all black Pharrell ones, but went OG with these special occasion. So,
these are
special.
These are the Matt Welties. These are Stan Smith. These were made for me by a guy named Bluntshank. He did a custom shoe with my face on the tongue, my name on the heel, my name on the tag, my name on the box.
On the box as well.
Yeah,
pretty.
So I got these, and it felt truly honored that someone made this for me. It was actually a really special moment. Like opening it went far beyond my expectations. I didn't ask for it. He just said, "I really want to make these for you."
Yeah.
send them to me. It's nice, and they also have the thin tongue on them, like the more original style, not the padded one.
Yeah. Yeah, they look great. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to kind of look at that picture, and
Stan,
to see the.
Do you feel disrespected?
That royalty thing, well, it's going to go the wrong way, I think.
Stan, I think one of the funnier things that not a lot of people know is that the world knows you for your mustache, right?
Yeah.
And the shoe. Some people think
Not
you're a shoe.
unlike me.
Some people think you're a shoe.
What a mustache.
Thank you.
But there was a 6-month period of your life where you didn't have a mustache, and that's when they took the photo for the Stan Smith tongue tag. So a lot of people know you for the mustache, but on the tongue, you actually don't have a mustache.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. I mean, at that time when I signed the contract, I thought it might be a 3-year deal or a 5-year deal, and 50 years plus.
You think it's like a license, and they were going to retake your photo every like?
Well, this photo looks better than me, at least. But there's a little shadow on it, so it kind of looks a little bit. You got to look at it closely.
A little stubble.
Skews it slightly, right?
Yeah, it looks like a possible mustache.
Let me ask you this: now that you've seen Welty with his face on your shoes, is there any way your agent Donald Dell could maybe set up an Adidas partnership with him and Adidas?
Well, I think the first thing he might do would be sue him.
Yeah, Donald Dell's coming with the paperwork, and not for the collab. I saw the documentary. He's definitely not coming. He's coming with the paperwork for sure, and not the good kind.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a bonus deal for him. But Matt, it's okay with me, really.
Well, it's fitting too because joking that my name's on the shoe, but when it first came out, it wasn't even the Stan Smith. It was the Robert Haillet shoe.
Yeah.
So he was a French tennis superstar at the time, retired in 1971. He had the white and green shoe with his name on the side. Not many people know that. And then it gets passed on to Stan Smith.
Yeah, we had a period of time, about 4 or 5 years, where my picture was on the tongue and his name was on the side. And then there was different iterations where his name was on the side as well as my name. And then they eventually, took his name off the shoe. But it took a while because the shoe was, selling pretty well, but people didn't know who Robert Haillet was. Yeah. And even in the U.S., when it was first there, people thought it was the Haillet shoe. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it became more well-known for my shoe, and people didn't know who, but I got to know Robert pretty well, and his son was a good player, just about my age, a little bit younger, but we had the big party when they celebrated, I think it was 22 million pairs sold. And it was in Paris at Roland Garros, and they had a big party, gave everybody a pair of shoes when they came to the party, and he was there. And I felt a little bit bad. He felt maybe worse. But it was too bad.
Do you feel like that's like a weird twist of fate in some way, where it's like you got lucky that, that Adidas decided to hand his original shoe down to you, and then it becomes the success that it became?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I've thought about that every day. Since then, I was in the right place at the right time. They wanted to get a stronger presence in the United States. No one knew who Robert was in the United States, and so they knew that's a big market for them, and it's going to be growing, and that's how it all happened. But it was pretty simple in that regard.
One thing I learned a lot from the documentary, Who is Stan Smith, but one thing that you think that you would assume, but I really didn't. Like the holes on the shoe, it was because the sweat used to just pour through. Like you were really sweating through the sneakers when you were playing in them. Talk about how I think a lot of people would just think it was part of the design language and for aesthetic, but it was really functional.
Well, the original idea with 3 stripes was, again, it wasn't a design. It wasn't even, that's how they got the logo, the 3 stripes. Mm-hmm. We do that in Europe, but the reason they had the 3 stripes is Adi Dassler was a bootmaker, and he would watch athletes in action, all sports, in track and field and soccer, particularly at the beginning, and he felt that they needed more support in that area, so he put little pieces of leather there, and he tried with 6, he tried with 4, with 2, and he finally realized that 3 was about the right balance that he wanted to support it. And then when his son, Horst, designed the shoe with Robert, I think it was the fact that we're playing on grass and you're supposed to be wearing white, and most of the tournaments, the 3 majors were on grass, and most of the other tournaments were as well. So they had the green in the back, and But the holes were funny because I literally, in Washington, D.C., I'll never forget, I'd be playing in the third set and it'd be spurting out of the holes.
Yeah.
Because it was so wet. I had to change shoes.
Damn. Wow.
But they did come in handy. They did give you some, some air, to your feet, which is because they're leather. When they first came out, we wore canvas before. And so to wear leather was sort of a big deal. It was the first time that we ever wore leather.
Yeah. You mentioned Horst Dassler in the movie, and we're going to mention the movie a bunch of times here. People should go see it. Who is Stan Smith? You're here for the premiere of it. There's this story in there that's recounted about the first time you met Horst.
Yeah.
There was some
Horst.
Some type of nightclub.
Yeah.
Ladies
Horst was a
there.
workhorse. He would come. He lived in France, but he would go to Germany and a workhorse. That's pretty good. Actually, my father always told that my mother's name was Rhoda Smith, and he saved her from. She dated a guy named Horst. So that was his joke. I saved her from being Rhoda Horst. But we met at a nightclub called Elie Louis in Paris. And
what do you mean by nightclub?
Well, it was it was a male impersonator, nightclub, and originally we said he wanted to meet at 12 o'clock. I said, well, that's fine, but then I realized I played a match at 2 o'clock, so I couldn't. He said, no, it's 12 o'clock midnight. So Horst would go to Germany and start interviewing for new employees and that sort of thing. He'd have a meeting at 7, at 8, or 9, at 10. He'd go all night practically. Then he'd leave. So we met at 12, which is, I guess, normal for him. But I go into this place and I'm thinking, what is this? I'm trying to figure out, it's my first time meeting Horst. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but that was his favorite place.
And what was the place like?
It was neat. It was a very elegant nightclub, and these girls were in tuxedos.
Yeah.
And they looked great. Except for the fact that there were women in these things, it looked pretty nice.
Nice.
It was a high-end type place.
To keep on Horst for a second, I think I remember hearing a lot of people say that when Horst passes away, like late 80s, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And then in that period, Adidas had like a really unfortunate transition. Like after he passes, the brand just kind of went really tanked. And in the early 90s, I believe the brand declared bankruptcy. Do you remember that period and what it was like?
Yeah, well, over the years, it's been a cycle, so it hasn't been just that. But that was the most difficult time because Horst really had taken over as the CEO and moved to Germany, and was doing a great job. And he was, like I say, he just seemed to be working night and day. Maybe that's why he had that heart attack, unfortunately. But anyway, when he passed away, then it was really in disorganization. That we had 4 distributors here in the United States, and they weren't sure what was going to go on and were they going to change it so to not have distributors like that and do a different org for the organization. And but it finally that we got an investor that took it over and brought it back, but it's had a number of ups and downs over the years, and right now it's actually struggling a little bit, and hopefully starting to make a comeback again.
Did you know the guys who did the Adidas America deal, Rob Strasser and Peter Moore? Did you?
Yes, Rob Strasser was with Nike, and he came over to Adidas, and he helped.
What a legend!
Resuscitate it. He was a legend. Right.
What are your memories of Rob?
Well, he was a big guy.
Yeah, big personality too.
And a big personality and very sharp, and one of these geniuses in marketing, and that was one of the things that really has been a selling point over the years. The marketing concepts that they've come up with have been fantastic, and it's been fun for me to be kind of on the inside seeing what they're going to do and some of the things we've done promotional wise around the world. And but Rob was one of the first guys to jump in there and help turn it around, and he actually died young as well. So it's been interesting to see the history. 75 years a couple of years ago, and going strong. And the new headquarters are fantastic. They've got some beautiful, buildings they've done, and they've got a place for the German football team to come and train, and that football pitch there, and it's pretty neat.
I know there's the iconic statue of Adi Dassler himself. They actually have a replica of it at the Adidas store here in New York City.
Yes.
Up on the benches.
I've sat next to that a few times.
Are they going to make one of you as well? Or?
Maybe a little one. We were there. I took my 4 kids and their spouses and 10 of our 16 grandchildren to Germany this year. And so we sat next to that statue of Adi over there, and we've done it here in the store in New York as well. But I did meet him one time in his home. He used to have people come to his house, and he and his wife would, we'd sit in the kitchen like everybody. You'd go to somebody's home, you end up sitting in the kitchen. And he was a great guy. He had his kind of business philosophy. And it's in a book. It's really pretty neat to see how he went about his whole way of thinking of high quality and looking at performance more than even design. And he really was the guy that started the whole thing.
And then in the doc, talking about tennis, 1972 Wimbledon, you win Wimbledon, and then in the past couple of days, me and we've been talking about Donald, your agent, and it's kind of like Fat Joe has a line that he came up with like a year and a half ago when like something happened. He was like, yesterday's price isn't today's price. And Adidas, you're trying to do the deal, and your agent tells them essentially you can't afford him now.
Yeah.
Talk about like those negotiations and what you remember back then once like, the Wimbledon championship happened.
Well, it was, I gotta say, my life has been, I've been fortunate with the timing of things that have taken place, and that was one of the things. I just won the U.S. Open in '71, and won in '72 at Wimbledon, and was number 1 in the world. And they're just coming out with these. Well, they had the leather shoes, but they wanted to really market them around the world, and so we'd actually talked to another company. A group of us talked to another company, and I was part of that group actually.
What was the other company?
Converse.
Okay.
Interesting.
Converse wanted to sign you.
Converse wanted to sign our little group. And so Arthur Ashe was with Le Coq Sportif and later went to Head. And that was, he wasn't part of that group. He was at the beginning, but then it kind of moved around a little bit. And then I had the opportunity to meet with them. And I loved Adidas. I thought it was the best brand in the world. And I still think it is, but to be associated with Adidas was really neat. And of course, it's Adidas in Germany, but there's so many iconic athletes that have been involved with them, so many products that have been so good that was a special honor. And then Donald was able to talk to Horst, and the timing was great for me.
Was there a royalty right off the bat in terms of you getting paid for every shoe that got sold?
I've had several different things. The first year, I think the first one was like 5 years, and then we had one for I think 7 years. Another time it was 10 years. Another time it was 5 years. And sometimes the royalties, sometimes just kind of a base salary. So
is there still a royalty every time a Stan Smith gets sold?
I'm not getting the 2 cents.
Is that what it is? 2 cents?
Not getting the 2 cents worth. And Matt, I hope you.
He owes you 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy a beer on me.
Is it 2 cents then? Is that like when a pair of Stan Smiths gets sold?
More or less.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Speaking of royalties, did Jay-Z give you any royalties when he name dropped you and he said the Weekend's Man, the Stan Smith Adidas in the campus?
He didn't. He didn't give me royalty, and I didn't even know about that until
your grandchildren. Right?
Well, no, my daughter came home. She's now 36 or 7, I think, and she was 13 or 14, and she came home and said, "Dad, you're famous." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Jay-Z has you in one of his songs." I said, "That's great. Well, who's Jay-Z?" And then I heard a couple of his songs. He had it in a few times. He just kind of
Have you met him?
About, no, haven't met him.
Were there other famous people who co-signed the sneaker that surprised you? I mean, Barack Obama was wearing them. Or does any of it surprise you at this point?
Trump was wearing it. I worked both sides of the political.
Listen, we're in the midterm. Today's, midterm day, so perfect.
It's been fun to see people wearing them, with obviously no benefits at all. And that's the thing that I like about the shoe. And what's great is you see males and females, and then boys and girls, and older people, and babies. And my favorite thing is to see a mother and daughter wearing the shoes.
Awesome.
Because most daughters wouldn't be caught dead wearing something their mother's wearing.
Sure.
No, I never would do that. But I've seen it, and I've seen daughters and fathers wearing it. And so I'm hoping that, in this election day, that the day after election day, that it'd be a
the Stan Smith can unify the country.
That's it. That's
trying
what
to
we need.
unify the world.
Exactly.
And so, everybody can play together.
Everybody could buy a pair, and you'll get 2 cents per pair, and then we'll.
Everybody will be happy.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable too. You'll find they're comfortable. Even
definitely.
though they're white.
You said speaking of women, wearing your shoe. I think one of the special versions that got made over the years, they did at Kate Moss.
Yeah,
Stan Smith. Do you remember that happening? Or
absolutely. I got a pair. I got
Wow.
a pair signed by Kate, and that was neat. I mean, they'd done it. Stella McCartney. We did a thing a couple of years ago in London where she did it. A collaboration where her picture was on one, my picture was on the other shoe, and so we signed shoes. And I leaned over and finally said, "You're getting pretty good at signing shoes." She made shoes, but she hadn't signed many like that. But at the very end of the evening, the group kind of opens up, and this woman comes up, and she puts her foot on the table and says, "Sign my shoe."
Is Madonna?
It's Madonna. And unfortunately, she put the wrong foot up because it was Stella's shoe. So I said, that's a good effort to get your foot that high because she's only about 5'2" and 60 years old, I think. So she got the other foot up there, and I was able to sign that one.
So the all-white Stan Smiths. Do you think at all about like the whole guidelines around footwear or uniforms in tennis? Like, actually, the last time I saw you at a distance at Wimbledon this summer. And this blazer today is partly inspired by yours that day. I felt like it's a
it does look
close
familiar.
match. But I remember one of the controversies from there was Nick Kyrgios, who's a Nike athlete, and him catching some flack for wearing Jordans, and they weren't white, and there are all these strict rules. Do you pay attention to things like that?
No, my shoes made in every color and material out there, so I wear different ones like this, and.
But do you think it's a shame that there's still these rules in tennis that are kind of old school?
Oh,
about
you
have
mean
to
for
wear
Wimbledon?
white?
Yeah. No, Wimbledon is actually it's more strict now than it was, let's say, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. You can have just a little piping on your shirts now, or you could have a little more stripes and that sort of thing 10 years ago. But it's unique, and the bottoms of the shoes of every company are exactly the same. So if it's a Nike or a Fila or Adidas, they're all the same. So the rules are very strict on that as to how much of these nubs you can have on there. Mm-hmm. But the white has been it's been kind of neat. The funniest thing was for the Olympics. We had the Olympics at Wimbledon, and they're wearing what they normally wear, all the different colors, and they had pink posters all around the grounds, and it looks sacrilegious to see that at Wimbledon and to see the colors. And so it's kind of neat to see that at Wimbledon. But I don't like necessarily having to have those rules anywhere in the world besides Wimbledon, because I want to see more and more people playing the game, wearing whatever they want to wear. Yeah. As long as they're wearing the right shoes.
And, you talked about, them making the special versions of your shoe in 2014. That was the reemergence of the Stan Smith. Adidas had a strategy around that in the time. So a few years before that, they were saying, hey, we want to reintroduce the Stan Smith, but what we're going to do is we're going to stop selling and producing the shoes so we can try and dry out the whole stock of it so there wasn't random sizes sitting in the back of the stores, so we can do a full reintroduction. What was it like in that period where they say we're going to stop selling your shoe?
You've done a lot of homework, haven't you? We had a meeting in 2011 at Wimbledon, which we always do. And at that meeting, my wife, Margie, and Donald were there. So 3 of us were there, and we're meeting with them, and they're saying, we're taking your shoe off the market in 2012 and 13. I said, what? Taking it off the market? And it lost a little bit of its luster. And I said, what are you going to do? He said, well, we're going to relaunch it. I said, what's your plan? What's your business plan? What's your strategy? They didn't have a lot to say then. So we walked out of the meeting, literally, three of us saying, well, it's been a good run. It's been 40 years. And, you know, I doubt it's going to come back. And then it came back on January 15th of 2014. It came back with a vengeance, and it really took off. So during that period of time, it was very strange because people would come up to me and say, well, I want to get your shoe, but they don't have it at this store. They don't have it this. They don't have it anywhere. Couldn't get it online or anything. And so
did you tell people what was happening, or were you kind of mum?
No, I said it's going to, you know, like in 2 years, they say they're going to bring it back. But I wasn't confident that that was going to happen. So we're kind of in limbo then. And so it was a very odd time.
You really thought that Stan Smith was going to go away for good?
I thought so. I thought that, you know, that maybe that put somebody else's name on it or do something different. And it was no longer going to be the same franchise. But as it turned out, again, the genius and the marketing there just they'd started with this idea of 100 influencers, and they did a lot of other kind of clever things that were neat.
It was always a classic shoe, but even, you know, you just said 2013, 2014, for it to come back with such a vengeance, like super recent. What is it like to see how, like, it came back, you know, 6 or 7 years ago, and now it's like such a staple, and the staying power of the silhouette, you put it up there in like a handful of maybe top 5 sneakers of all time. What's it like the like, I wouldn't even call it the second life, but like the third life this shoe is having?
Well, you know what they did in that period when they said they're going to bring it back, they said, we're going to market it to 18 to 25-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I said, that's really stupid. Those people have no idea who I am. And then over the years, I've realized that unless you're 60 years old or 55, you would never see me play. And there's no reason you would necessarily know who I am as a tennis player. But the name, you know, has been around. So I've come to terms with that, and it's not a problem because it's normal. You know, I guarantee you, it's sacrilegious to say this, but Michael Jordan, in 15 years from now, people will say, well, was he a good player? His shoes will probably still be around.
Yes.
Could he play? I mean, to say something like that to a basketball fan would be
absurd.
Yeah. But, you know, Bjorn Borg, I remember doing a clinic, and didn't want to use my name. I said, well, Bjorn's, you know, about 10 years younger. How many of you kids want to be like Bjorn Borg? And they're 12 and 13-year-olds. They looked at me like, you know, who's he? Yeah. So that was when I realized that, you know, it doesn't last forever unless you're a history student or unless you're involved in TV and doing things where people would see you on a daily basis. But so it doesn't bother me, and it's fun to see what's going on with young people wearing the shoe. And you know, now I remember when my wife and I were just married, and for about 3 or 4 years, we were on a subway in Paris, and we saw a lady with a baby that had the baby shoes on, and we'd never seen them. We didn't know that they were being made. We said, wouldn't that be neat if our kids wore the Stan Smith shoe? And you know, now our 16 grandkids are wearing them. And
it's awesome.
But you had a moment like that in Paris. So there was a special release of your shoe at the store Colette. They did a white and blue version of it, and they had you at the event.
Yeah.
And they had you greeting the people at the front door, and there was a lineup, and everyone's running to get in. And as you opened the door, the first kid in line didn't recognize you and tried to run past you.
That's true. That's true. In fact, I got behind the cash register, and I sold like the first 5 pairs there to people that had got them. But you had to order them for that Colette show. So everybody had ordered, and you know, I don't know if you know Tiriac very well, but he's probably the wealthiest man in Romania now. But
who is that?
He is my nemesis. We played Tiriac and Nastasi in Romania in Davis Cup, and it was a battle. It was a World War III, and he looked like Dracula. He's got this bigger mustache than you.
Can't be.
And he looks evil. You look just different.
Slightly, little bit.
No, but anyway, this guy was a mortal enemy. I didn't talk to him for 2 years.
And we're friends.
And, yeah, that's a difference. So anyway, he comes to the store, and he says, I want 2 pairs for my friends. I said, well, they've all been allocated. He says, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I said, well, people have got them here. And sure enough, I was leaving this appearance, and he comes up with 2 boxes. And I don't know, he might have paid $2,000 for them or something like that. Because, he wanted to have these.
No matter what.
These Colette special shoes.
He got them.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Michael Jordan a little bit?
Sure.
Because you guys share an agent.
Yeah. David Falk, the first deal he ever did was for me with ProServe, and he was working with Donald Dell.
Right.
And how do you know him well?
No, only the name.
Anyway, he started his career with ProServe, and then ended up leaving and with some of the basketball players at ProServe and started Fame, and then moved on. But
were you there when the Jordan deal came together? Did you have any insight into it?
I do. But I can't tell you.
Oh, boy.
No, that was an amazing time.
Did you get a pair of Jordans?
No, I've never had a pair of Jordans. I don't like that 4-letter word I don't use. I don't like to swear.
Oh, Nike.
Ooh.
Has any of your grandchildren or kids ever come home in a pair of Nikes?
One has.
What happened? Are they
We
excommunicated?
only have 15 now.
Did that really happen? Did somebody come home?
Yeah, one of them had a pair of, yeah. It's a mistake.
And what was the retribution?
I slapped him around a little bit.
A little bit.
Stan, I think one of the coolest iterations of your shoe, you talk about, how the best design comes from innovation. The stripes were put on the shoe to breathe. Raf Simons does the Raf Simons Stan Smith, which I think is just one of the early high fashion sneaker collaborations, but it was done so tastefully, right? They take the 3 stripes and they don't add all this gaudy stuff to the shoe. They take the 3 stripes and make it into an R on the side. What did you think that was clever when you saw that, or?
Well, first of all, I didn't understand it at first that they're going to do that, and then when I saw it and saw that it was selling for like $295, and the same shoe was at $75 when he did it, it was kind of odd. But they used a good leather, and it looked sharp, and so I got used to it, and I really liked it. And again, he was one of those guys that wore the shoe before he did that special shoe with the R on it, and he just loved the shoe, and so many people did that, and these were designers that were high-end designers, and so I was kind of amused by the fact that you got the same shoe with an R, and I think it was about the only difference on the shoes. So.
Will you wear those yourself, or do you only like wearing the ones that say Stan Smith on it?
Well, I've worn those that have had collaboration. The latest collaboration I'm really proud of is Paul Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know that, but
the Manchester United shoe,
yeah,
right?
Manchester United. So he and I got together during Wimbledon for about 2 hours, and we really hit it off. He's a very energetic guy, and he was born in 1946. And so they made 1,946 pairs of these shoes with his picture. They're white on white. His picture on the left and my picture on the right. And that's all they made, a limited edition, because we're both born in 1946. And this guy he's going to live forever. I mean, he's so energetic. He's into bikes. He's into Manchester United. He wasn't into football early on, and he got into it. And I wasn't into football either. I didn't understand soccer or football until 1964. I went to Wimbledon, and during that time, England was in the World Cup.
Oh, yep.
And they won it. And so it was on 24/7. So if I wasn't watching tennis on TV in my hotel room, I was watching soccer. And so I kind of got a feel for it. But he did the same, and he's doing so many innovative things with materials and designs, and it was really a neat little time we had together.
I think one of the interesting turns that Stan Smith has taken too is that there's all these collaborations, but also there are all these knockoff-looking shoes. Are out right now where, it seems like every designer brand has, there's the chunky, what is that, McQueen? It makes like the chunky Stan Smith wannabe
like
looking.
Acme
It's like
made
that
one
one
too.
over there. It's got those names on it.
Oh, the Air Force One?
Is that the Air Force one?
Come on, they didn't rip you off with the Air Force. But do you
That
see
white
those
one,
shoes?
The chunky one, the big sole.
You want 2 cents on that too?
Well,
Stan's coming for everything.
look at all these shoes up here.
Do you get annoyed when you see that stuff?
I do. At Wimbledon, they have an agreement with a company, and the shoe looks so much like mine.
Mm-hmm.
I took a double take, a triple take, and I really thought they were my shoes, but then I realized these were umpires
Okay.
and linesmen. So they're all wearing the uniform, they're wearing the shoes. And I looked at it, I said, it's my shoe. I said, it's great. I said, I realized that Adidas wasn't sponsoring Wimbledon.
They had nothing to do with this.
It wasn't that company. And they looked so much. Skechers, shouldn't say this, I guess, but they made a shoe exactly like mine, and Adidas sued them, and Adidas won the suit.
Yeah.
That was crazy too, because I remember when that happened, Skechers was so flagrant with it that on their website, if you actually typed in Stan Smith on the search button, that shoe would pop up.
That's wild.
Oh.
Yeah, that was flagrant. But every company now has the white shoe, something on the back sort of similar kind of design. And so during that whole Skechers thing, we went through all the different elements of the shoe, the things that are patented.
Yeah.
And there's
Trade dress.
Yeah. There's only 3 or 4 different things that are there, but so many companies now have that, and that 4-letter word one looks like, same sort of shoe. And
One collaborator, we've talked about people wearing your shoes, but one collaborator that you've worked with very closely in the doc, I like, he says, I was never into the superstar, but I love the Stan Smith, Pharrell. And there's also a part of the doc where you have like a special makeup. I think it's like, what is it? Is it curtains or
that kind of like
looks like
embroidery
drapery?
type,
Exactly.
On the upper.
What is that? What's that relationship been like throughout the years?
Well, we spent a few times together, not a lot, but I remember the first time we got together, it was at the U.S. Open. And so we took him through the dining room and through the lounge area, and it was near the end of the tournament, so there weren't a lot of players there, but he was very nice. He's a quality guy. So we sat for 3 hours watching Serena play a match. It was a quarterfinal match, and he had seen her play once before and had met her and her parents. But so I finally said, well, did you play any sports in high school? And he said, no, I was in the band. He didn't know anything about tennis. But we spent 3 hours together, and he finally learned the scoring, and he finally said, I'm getting hungry. But he is a quality guy, and every time I see him, I say, just keep positive with young people, because you're making a huge impression upon young people, and a lot of artists aren't doing that. And so I've been very impressed by the way he's run his life and the things he's done, and he's a genius in so many different ways. Music, design,
definitely.
Productions.
Stan, I get the impression from you that when it comes to your legacy in life, it feels like your family is the most important to you. But you talk about your career and people not knowing who you are. Are you happy that the shoe ends up being the lasting legacy more than the playing career?
Well, I kind of referred to that a little bit before. Is that your legacy is going to be there for what it's worth. I mean, I wish I'd won a few more majors, and I'm in the Hall of Fame. I was a president of the Hall of Fame and been involved with the game and in a lot of different ways. So I've been involved in the game. I've given back to the game. And the shoe is sort of a bonus in a way. I didn't do anything besides, be in the right place at the right time.
Smile for the picture.
And I've done some things with some promotions and collaborations and that sort of thing, and even some suggestions for the shoe. But the shoe is not much different than the very first day I put it on, except for that little loop there that kind of keeps the tongue from moving, and then a little higher in the back to help protect the Achilles tendon. But I did do a lot playing tennis. I paid the price, and I put the work in. And so, again, it's kind of a fun bonus. It's a serious thing because the shoe is an important element of Adidas, and So it's important that it keeps on. And as I always tell my wife and my agent, Donald, that I think that Adidas is going to promote it because, I'm getting a little percentage and they're getting a big percentage, and it's important to their company. And as you know, Kanye West is now, he was a big part of that company. Now he's no longer involved, and so it's I still love the brand. I think it's a fantastic brand. It's got great. I remember they did kind of retro thing with my shoe, let's say 30 years ago. And the other company tried to do a retro thing, and they had like 5 years of history. So how do you do a retro with 5 years history when we've been, let's say, 30 or 40 years of history to sell jerseys and shoes and track suits that we wore, back in the 70s. They were pretty neat, and they brought them back. And so it's, Adidas does have that benefit of having a long history of, and I was there this summer, and we were talking about the designers were looking at stuff that was done 50, 60 years ago, materials, looks, and that sort of thing, and they are doing kind of little tweaks on those designs. Yeah. So they're coming back to things like that. Nothing quite like that sweater, but...
You like the sweater?
No, not really.
Stan, jeez.
Well, I think it's nice, but it's...
You like his blazer more?
I like the blazer, actually. Yeah.
I really saw you, at a distance, and I did a double take, much like you with the footwear. This was at Wimbledon this summer. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Stan. And then I went back and looked at the images from the event, and I was like, yes, indeed, it was Stan Smith.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
Let me ask you this. When Adidas sends you that check, do you get an idea of like how many Stan Smiths sell every year? Do you know how many units they're moving?
Yeah, they send a
report?
A report on the units that are sold. And
do you know how many,
types of SQ, they call them SKUs.
Yeah. Do you know how many these days in a year a pair of Stan
Yeah,
Smiths?
well, last year they just, I will tell you this, last year they just announced that they just gone over 100 million.
Total.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a few years.
Dealing with the documentary, you worked with Uninterrupted and obviously LeBron James, Maverick Carter.
Hill.
And that team, that they subscribe to like the More Than an Athlete, and this doc encapsulates that a ton. What was it like working with that group on this?
Well, they had seen a video that I'd been in, and then also seen the book that I did, and they liked the idea of kind of this combination of athlete and the fashion and some humanitarian and that sort of thing. And so that was that's how they came to me and said, we want to do this thing. And it's always strange to have a documentary done about you. It's awkward. But anyway, we went into that, and they got Danny Lee as a director.
Yeah.
And
Great work.
I love the guy.
Yeah.
And we became good friends, and we spent a lot of time together. Poor Danny had to fly to Wimbledon during the COVID thing and stay in a hotel for 5 days.
Oh, man.
Before he could come out and do some shots on the center court, which is part of the show. And he was a great guy, and he valued, I think, the strength of the family, and the importance of the family, and so, at the same time, he kind of directed it the way he wanted to kind of lay it out. And there's things that are missing that I would love to have seen, and other angles, but it did encapsulate, kind of the most important things in my life.
So one last thing I want to ask you, you've had all these iterations of the Stan Smith, all these collaborations and different colorways and whatnot. But then you also, around 2000, you had the Stan Smith Millennium, where they actually made a new version of the Stan Smith that was like a modernized shoe that was, I guess, geared a little bit more towards playing tennis and with modern construction on the sneaker, a little thicker sole, a little different design. Did they have you wear testing that shoe to get your stamp of approval?
Well, they sent me the shoe early on and asked me what I thought about it. There was a little cushion thing the round thing at the bottom of the shoe, and it was thicker. And I remember a kid came up to me and said, he just was signed with Adidas. This was about 30 years ago, I guess. And he said, I want to wear your shoe. And I said, well, you don't want to wear my shoe. You want to wear a shoe, the Barricade, which is more for, it's got the bells and whistles and support and all that sort of thing. You can wear my shoe off the court. And he said, no, I like your shoe best of all of them. And I said, no. And so it's interesting to see that I tell people you can wear the shoe off the court, but you shouldn't wear it on the court because it's not as good as the ones that are there now. But the Millennium was that what they were trying to do is they were trying to get into a shoe that's really more of a shoe you could wear in playing instead of just a fashion shoe. And so it was a good shoe too. It did give you more support. It did give you a little more cushion. And I wore that probably for 5 or 6 years when I was playing the 35 and overs and other events like that. But the performance shoe is now, they've gone, generations past that. And of course, the shoe is pretty much the same. Although I will tell you the story about my niece who's in London, and she was doing PE, and she was wearing the shoe, and the teacher said, you can't wear that for PE. She said, well, why not? He says, well, they're not trainers, which are performance shoes, they call them over there. They're fashion shoes. She said, well, my uncle won Wimbledon wearing those shoes. And so she had to back off.
They let her wear the shoes?
Yeah.
Love that.
That's a
Let
victory.
them know.
That's a victory for the family.
It was a victory for her.
One of many. So, world premiere tonight.
Yeah.
And then is it November 29th? So exactly where will it be playing, the Who is Stan Smith doc?
Well, it's going to be, I think it can be streamed, later this week maybe. Then there's 2 more showings here.
Okay.
During the film festival that they just added because it's sold out, and it's they have a lot of buyers. They're going to come in there and look at it and see what they want to do with it. But it'll be interesting to see what transpires. There's so many different ways it can be sold and used and that sort of thing. So I have no idea what will happen with that. But it's my partner in my company, the Stan Smith Events Company, said to me, they said, this is sort of like playing on center court at Wimbledon. This is a big day. And I said, yeah, it is kind of a big day to have a world premiere here.
What's the outfit going to be?
It's going to be neat, I think.
You want to borrow the blazer?
No, it's going to be a little more out there.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Oh, we look forward to it.
Listen, thank you so much for your time. This is it's been an honor to chop it up with you. Very, really, really banner day here on this podcast.
I appreciate the opportunity, and you guys have done some pretty good preparation for this thing. I mean, you know more about it than my mother knows about it.
Thank you so much, Stan. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, everyone. This has been the Complex Sneakers Podcast. We hope everyone has a great weekend. Please like, subscribe, and we will see you next week.